Yom Kulchem, you're all standing firm. Now, the previous Rebbe speaks about this, and he talks about the idea that Parshas Nitzavim is always read next to Rosh Hashanah. The calendar is a lunar calendar, and different years, Rosh Hashanah could be a different day of the week. It could be a little bit deeper in the season, earlier in the season, but somehow this parsha is always read before Rosh Hashanah, whether it's only this parsha or it's this parsha and the next one. Nitzavim Vayelach sometimes are together, but if you look at a calendar and you pay attention, you'll notice that this parsha is always read before Rosh Hashanah. And the question is why? In addition to the fact that we know there are no coincidences, and everything it definitely is specific, and it definitely has some type of explanation and reasoning or a message of why this parsha is next to Rosh Hashanah. In addition, the Zohar tells us that a parsha of Nitzavim, every parsha and every Shabbos really, has a component which is uplifting the prior week and an aspect which is blessing the coming week. Which means that when we have Shabbos, where they were supposed to reach, for whatever reason, on Shabbos you have the ability to lift them up even higher. And that's because Shabbos is holy, because Shabbos is an auspicious time, because Shabbos is a special gift from Hashem. There are various elements to this, but it does something to the prior week, taking it to a greater level. Yes?
Even though you're not saying those prayers on Shabbos.
Correct. Very good. Very good. We have different prayers on Shabbos, but during the tefillah of Shabbos, it elevates the Shabbos that follows that day, those days, has the ability to fix or complete or even make up, in a sense, what was missing. At the same time, says the Zohar, it works forward as well. Shabbos is blessing the coming week. And from this Shabbos, all the days that follow it in the coming week are blessed and get their energy and their strength from the prior Shabbos. So Shabbos has this duality. It elevates the past and it blesses, prepares the future. That's why we find that we bench the month, right? We say Shabbos Mevarchim. Before a new month, we bless the coming month. We do so through on the Shabbos before. There are other days, for example, when there's a chasana, before he gets married, the groom gets called to the Torah on the Shabbos before, because the Shabbos before blesses the coming week, and in the coming week is his wedding, and other examples such as this. So if we have the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah is always Nitzavim, there has to be something in that is giving us strength or guiding us, helping us for the coming week, which is going to have Rosh Hashanah in it. So what do we say in this parsha? You're all standing together today. Okay? You're all standing firm today together. And it's brought in Svarim that today, what do I mean today? You're all standing today. Not every time Hashem speaks to the Jewish people, and not every time Moshe speaks to the Jewish people, does he use this term today. Obviously, he's talking to them today. Why do you have to say today? Today applies to the day. When you say Hayom, the day, it means today, but it's telling us that we're talking about Rosh Hashanah. You're standing today on the great day, the day of the great judgment, which is the day of Rosh Hashanah. And the words that are chosen to use, Atem, Nitzavim, Hayom, Kulchem, standing, is a word which represents standing straight, firm, and victorious. There are many ways that Torah can tell us to stand. There are many ways that you have the idea of standing upright, but the words that are chosen here are Nitzavim, which means victorious. So the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, we're already saying that we're standing upright, we're standing firm, we're ready, we're victorious for the coming year and for the day of judgment, which impacts the coming year. What do we have to do on this day? So the Torah says, Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem. You're all standing together, which means united as one. all of the souls of our nation. And Torah elaborates whether you are the Rashi Shivteichem, you're the heads of the tribe, you're on top, you're a leader, you're a great tzaddik, whatever it may be, or you are in the other spectrum where the person is a wood chopper or a water drawer, a carrier of water. Those days before they had plumbing, someone would go and schlep water from a well and bring it to the people. And let's just say it wasn't the most sophisticated type of job. So Torah says all of you stand together. There are no differences with how much you know or what level spiritually, religiously you're at. You're standing kulchem together in front of Hashem. And we have to recognize that these wood choppers and water drawers, they were people among the Jews in Israel, and they convert before the Jews came, and they converted to join the Jewish people. And let's say that they didn't convert out of love for the Jewish people or for Hashem and the Torah altogether. So it doesn't matter how great or how simple, we're all standing together, united. Now, standing together, the Rebbe says this, and he shares that there's two ways of unity. You could have unity where you handle one another, which means you could tolerate the other person. That's not the unity that we're talking about. Because if you look on the opposite end, you say, okay, at least they're not fighting. At least they're getting along. We're able to sit in the same room. I could tolerate his existence. But it doesn't mean that they're united. And Torah demands not that you should just tolerate the other person, but you should have a unity with the other person. You have to recognize that the other person is completing you. You're benefiting something from them, and they're benefiting something from you. The famous example, which we discussed it here in these classes last week, about a body with a head and feet, right? But there's a head and feet. The feet are not as great as the body. However, they're extremely important to the body. As the head, but they're very important and extremely crucial to the well-being of the head. They do something, they contribute something to the head that the head does not have on its own. The head doesn't have mobility, at least not in that sense. And it lifts it up and so on. So the head looks at the feet and may feel head is sophisticated, complex. It has many, many different elements to it. It's giving energy to the rest of the body. It's leading it. It's controlling it. What are the feet doing? But it has to recognize that the feet are actually completing the head. That's the level of unity, and that's the avodah, the effort that we have to put in, is to appreciate that and recognize that the relationship that we have to have with one another is not just one of tolerance. Tolerance is a good step one, but that's not what we're looking for. It's definitely not what we're looking for when we're talking about unity for Rosh Hashanah. We're looking for the ability to unite on a level that it's really together, really united. And the reason why we read this before Rosh Hashanah is because we want to use Torah. Gives us strength. Torah is our source of strength. It gives us the ability to have that unity because Torah talks about it. So we have the ability to do so. It's similar to what we say on Rosh Hashanah in Musaf. We say over verses from Malchies, which talk about Hashem's becoming king, and that he should be king, and he said he'll be king. Zichrenes, which are memories to remind Hashem of the promises that he made, of the behavior and the deeds of our ancestors, and it's done through shofar, through blowing shofar. Why do we read these verses? Why do we say them? Because when you bring a raya, when you bring a proof from Torah, it causes it to be stronger. It makes it happen. It gives it intensity. It brings it down into this world. And that's just like on Rosh Hashanah. We say these verses because we want to bring a proof from Torah that Hashem has to be king and that he has to remember what he said and it's done through shofar. Similarly, before Rosh Hashanah, we read Parshas Nitzavim because it's going to tell us about the need for unity of all types of people, and not just unity where we have tolerance, but there's actually a true unity. Now, the pasuk continues, and he says, "Atem netzavim ayem kolchem." You're all standing together, from the wood choppers to the water carriers. Sorry, from the heads of tribes to the wood choppers and water carriers. And it says, what's going to happen now? You're going to be brought into a covenant with Hashem. What's the idea of a covenant? Well, what's the point of it? So let's use a modern example, a physical example. You have two people that have a friendship. Okay, they love each other, and they may have this relationship because there's benefits here. Okay, he appreciates his company, or there's something to gain out of this relationship. He helps him, or whatever it may be. He likes his humor, he likes his wisdom, whatever, for whatever reason they're together. And it's a strong relationship, and they love each other, and everything's great. But they tell each other, look, something may happen, and I'm concerned. If anything goes wrong in my abilities, for example, if this relationship was one of money, it wasn't officially money, but because there was money involved, because there were benefits, they were neighbors, they enjoyed being next to each other, they did things together. But what if one of them moves? What if the job of somebody causes them to have to leave somewhere? What happens then? The love will be over. Why? Because it's all here because of what gets benefited, what results from it. So they do a krisos bris. They make a covenant among themselves. They make a deal. They sit down and they say, look, I love you, you love me. Let's make this strong. Let's make a bond. That even if the causes for this love, or the glue of this relationship gets changed for whatever reason, it's not going to diminish our connection between one another. And what it does is that even when there's no more reason for the love, there's no more reason for that friendship, they're still friends because they made a deal, a covenant, a bond, a bris, that we're going to do that. Okay? So that's how it remains. Similarly, in our relationship to Hashem, what happens in Rosh Hashanah? We're coming to Shul. We are crowning Hashem as king, and we're coming right after a month of Elul. And during the month of Elul, we do tshuva. We review our prior year. We make changes. We regret negativity. We resolve to do more good. We come to Rosh Hashanah, we're different people. And Hashem's love for us is very strong. There's nothing that blocks the love because we've cleaned up. We're holier. We're inspired. We want to do the right thing. So Hashem loves us in an open way. The question is, what happens next week and the week after? What will be if down the road there are problems in the relationship? There are issues that are coming up, and a yid is not doing what Hashem wants, and there's a block for this love to go through. So what we ask Hashem to do is, or Hashem promises us will do, I'm going to make a covenant, and this covenant is going to ensure that our relationship is not because you did mitzvahs. Of course we have to do mitzvahs. And of course it's clearer and better when there is that two-way street, if you will. However, if for whatever reason a person does not do the mitzvah, or he makes a mistake, or he does something wrong in a moment of weakness, it should not diminish the love Hashem has for him. So Hashem makes this covenant with us. That's what he talks about, to ensure that down the road, that love should still remain, even if we're not, so to speak, deserving. How can you expect from Hashem to have this love for us and not have it dependent on anything, if in our relationships with others, we do make it dependent? Where a person says, oh, he is just a wood chopper. What do I have to benefit from him? I am whatever. You are, let's just say someone is a very great expert in their field, and they are of the opinion that what they do is really contributing a lot to humanity, and they have studied a lot and experienced, and they have talent or whatever, they feel great about themselves. And the other person that they look at says, oh, who are they? They look down at them. That's a logical conclusion. I don't have what to benefit from you. Why should I be your friend? Why should I hang out with you? I'd rather hang out with people that I could benefit from. So it's wrong, but it's logic. If you want Hashem to look at you and say, I'm going to have a relationship and I'm going to show my love to you and help you and be with you and so on and so forth, even if you don't necessarily deserve it, or even if it's not so clear how you're doing what I want, then we have to do the same thing in our relationships with others. And we have to stop evaluating other people and measuring them and so on. Because the reality is that most people give less value and credit to another person than they really deserve. In other words, they look at a person and they say, oh, they must be from the woodshopper category or the water drawing category. They don't appreciate the greatness that they have. I'm not even talking about when it's real. Even when it's not real, they don't realize that. So when a Yid comes to Rosh Hashanah, to Shofar, one of the things we say before Shofar is a verse, chapter from Tehillim, and it says, Yivchar lanu es nachal aseinu. Hashem should choose for us the inheritance, which means a relationship that is not logical. It's a relationship that's chosen. When you choose something, it's not a logical choice. True choice, is not a decision that's based on rationale. If you decided to go to Hawaii on vacation and not to Mexico, there was a reason for it. It's not called choice. One place was nicer, one place was cheaper, one place you were never there before. Whatever the reasons that caused you to choose that, but there's a reason for it. It's not true choice. True choice is when they're exactly the same and something inside you feels an essential connection and says, this is what I want. This is my choice. When Hashem chooses us, it's well beyond what we did or didn't do, or how great we are or not. It's not what it is. Hashem says, I want you because I do want you. There's something essential here. Parents don't choose children because of a reason. It's an essential connection. We want Hashem to look at us that way. We have to look at others that way. And not have our unity and our getting along with others and our relationships based on how and what we benefit from it. Rabbi Hillel Paritcher was a chassid, a Talmud, a great tzaddik. He really wanted to see the Alter Rebbe. But every time he came to a city, he was a very young man at the time, he heard the Alter Rebbe is going to be in the town. He would travel to that town, and somehow, as he came, the Alter Rebbe left. He arrived, the Alter Rebbe was gone. Every time, without fail. So he decided, he has an idea, a trick. He'll find out where the next stop the Alter Rebbe is going to be in a couple days. He'll go ahead, and this way he won't miss him. And he'll finally have a chance to see this tzaddik, this Rebbe that he heard so much about. He wants to be his chassid. So he travels to the town where the Alter Rebbe was going to be. He finds out where he's going to stay. And before the Alter Rebbe comes there, he goes into the room where he's going to stay and he hides under the bed. And this young man is hiding, and his plan is when the Alter Rebbe walks in, he's going to ask him a question on Masechta Erchin. Erchin is a volume in Talmud which talks about, among other things, the name talks about the estimation or the value that is given for others. And I'll explain the context here. What the Torah says, if you want to give an offering to Hashem, or you want to give a promise of some sort, there's different things you could do. You could say an amount, you could say the weight of something, whatever it is. Or you could say, I want to give the value of my child, the value of, myself, the value of my wife, whatever it is. A person could say a value of somebody. What it means is, Torah enumerates each person what their value is. Whether it's a child, whether it's an adult, a man, a woman, whatever it is. There's values that are given. This is the amount of silver that it's worth. And you take that amount and you give it. So this whole Gemara which discusses it. And he had a question on this Gemara, which he prepared. On the Gemara Erchen, we'll call it evaluating. And he's hiding under the bed. And when Alter Rebbe will come in, he'll finally get to see him, and he's going to have a good question. Alter Rebbe walks in. We had it in today's Hayom Yom, where Alter Rebbe would speak with a niggin, with a tune. Alter Rebbe walks in, and he's hiding under the bed, and he hears Alter Rebbe says, with a tune, as a younger man, that a young man has a question. In Erchen, in the volume which talks about evaluating, he should first go and evaluate himself. When he said it, and this Reb Hillel heard it, he fainted. And when he woke up, Alter Rebbe had already left the town. So he never actually did see him. He was a chassid of the Mittler Rebbe, of the Tzemach Tzedek, but he never did see the Alter Rebbe. The point is like this. When Torah talks about evaluating, it doesn't matter if you're smart, or if you're rich, or if you have this and this occupation. It doesn't matter. Torah gave a value. This is the age, this is the amount that you're worth. Well, however you come up with these evaluations. But it's not based on your knowledge or your level of observance or your job. That has zero to do with your value. And Torah tells us in the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah that standing together on this day, standing upright, which means victorious, comes through having true unity, not just tolerating, but appreciating and recognizing that we benefit from each other. The other people complete us. And we're not friends with them because of something we benefit. It's beyond that. And we want Hashem to behave with us in the same way as well. Not to love us or be good to us because of something we've done or didn't do. But it should be something which is beyond logic. It should be a deep, deep, real relationship. This is the message, and really the work of Elul is to have that when a person grows and a person making changes in their life and they're becoming better, especially in the month of Elul and doing tshuva, they should not, God forbid, look at someone else and say, "Oh, they're less. They never got to it. They're not, they're not up to par. They're not good enough." Recognize that we have a relationship with each other. We each benefit each other, and we're not friends because of what we get. But it's true unity. Thank you.
What was the story?
Wonderful.
Does anyone know